All right. Welcome to Conversations with Bendy 55. I'm Dean Benderman, and I'm so lucky and honored. This is such a cool interview for me. It's going to help with my school project for a master's class with ECI 830. But it's just a great story in general. And after, I'll also put the link to the TED Talk that my special guest has done here. So, welcome, Arjita Sethi. Did I say it right? Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your time. So, first of all, I think it's a really cool story. Just how did we end up connecting?
It is a really cool story, Dean. I am the founder of a small startup in Silicon Valley in San Francisco called DaVinci Club. And I have been running these remote summer camps since the lockdown of COVID-19 happened. And I was just thinking of how we can start getting kids interested and introduce them to Minecraft education. And I started looking for people and experts all around online who could do that. And I came across your profile on Twitter, which was incredible because you had this website and I could go through all the amazing projects and the work that you've done with students. And it really made me understand that, if I'm looking for someone who is really passionate, since I am passionate about education, I need to go to a person who's not just an expert, but loves to share their work and their expertise. And I love that your profile just showcased that. And that's how I reached out to you, and we are here today.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing story, and it actually goes with a lot of things I've been, talking about in masters. But more importantly, what I profess to my own students, sometimes I think that if you don't have a digital footprint, or I like the term tattoo, actually, it's almost as bad as having a bad one because nobody knows you're out there. And I think a lot of employers and a lot of people like yourself that are looking for people to connect with are going to go on social media and find people out there. So I love that story, and I'm glad that I have that story to tell. And I love what you shared there too. And I'm so excited about this opportunity about working with you. This whole thing seems just so super exciting. And one thing that really got me excited about too was right back at you. When you reached out, you had your TED Talk attached to it. And when I took the 12 minutes, which was a great 12 minutes to watch your TED Talk, I was hooked, and I'm like, yeah, this is somebody I want to hang out with as well. So I really appreciated that. So the one thing in your TED Talk that you're championing, and you kind of mentioned a little bit before, I think you started with the School of Games with students, and now it's kind of evolved into the DaVinci Club. Could you explain to me a little bit about what that is and what you're trying to accomplish with that?
Absolutely. So School of Games basically was a literacy platform that could be used by any kid anywhere in the world. It was a low fidelity platform, which meant it could even run on a $10, $15 device. It did not have to be a very amazing smartphone, or it did not have to be state-of-the-art laptop. It could work on any device. And we were pretty proud of it, launching a prototype and giving it to 12,000 kids around the world.
Wow.
And we piloted it in 5 different countries at the same time, because the name of our company is Equally. We stand for this mission that we have to give equal education to the kids who can afford and who cannot. And just thinking of doing a pilot in one place just did not justify the mission of the product. So we did it with 12,000 kids in 5 different countries. And we got amazing results, Dean. And the results, we knew it was bound to fall. Nobody can solve education with just launching a product and giving it out there. If it was so easy, we would have been there already.
Exactly.
So we prepared that people are going to tell us our baby is ugly in many different ways, but we wanted to learn from that experience. And that's why we've taken this product as more of a research product rather than startup, overnight we need to reach somewhere. So when we launched it and piloted it in 5 different countries, one of the countries we piloted it in was Tanzania, because we were one of the 11 semifinalists for the Global Learning X Prize. That was a $15 million sponsored by Elon Musk. And they took us, it was in collaboration with Google and UNESCO, and it was an amazing initiative. And they took us to Tanzania. And the kids loved the product, and the teachers also liked it. But they told us that the content that you've built is not really relevant to the kids in Tanzania. And that's when we realized that no matter how high quality of a content we build, we would never be relevant to every kid in the world. And that's when it evolved into DaVinci Club, where we changed the classroom into, instead of we giving the content, it is a smart camera. The kid can learn from the things around them, making it more relevant and adding to this theory of constructivism. The kid already knows this and is going to discover more from it. And that's how it evolved. And now it is not a literacy platform. It is a smart camera that generates content or generates lessons based on the things around a child. And it also socially connects children anywhere in the world. So a child in India and Tanzania and San Francisco and Canada can all be together and learn from each other's surroundings as well.
That's amazing. Like, I'm just smiling from ear to ear because this is a lot of what we're talking about in our master's class as well. Like, how do you bridge that digital divide, right? How do you make it, one of our topics with equality, with technology, and is that even possible? And I love what you're saying there. And I also love what you're saying. It's actually something we're going to be talking about right away in the class, is that openness and sharing. And that, if you don't have that, then you're not being equal. You got to be able to let people experience their own reality and what they have around them in order to engage in their learning. Otherwise, it's just foreign to them, right? So I love what you're saying there. But you also said that you're kind of starting this with, the youth, right? Younger students. So what age group did you start at, or are you looking at? And why do you think it's important to start with younger learners to be adept with technology?
Yeah, so I started my first school in India when I was 16, and that was for high school students or people who were looking for jobs. It was a vocational school, and I started it because I was tired of my high school education. It was not preparing me for jobs. So my background, if you see, was something that where I was giving education to grown-ups. And when I did my master's in social entrepreneurship, I started realizing that the problem of education is with the foundation. It is, if you do not start them early, that digital divide has been created. And now, instead of finding prevention, we are just giving a cure that, okay, great, all right, this disease has taken place, let's patch it up, let's put a band-aid on it and start thinking of solutions. And that's when I started reading a lot about word gap and early childhood education. And I realized that the amount of brain development that happens by the time a child is 8 is phenomenal. So by the time the child is 8, the child's brain has already been developed by 90%. And I just feel if so much of development has already been done, anything after that might just be a drop in the ocean and might not actually help a child. So we started looking at early childhood education and realized that there were problems of digital divide, word gap, illiteracy at such an early age, because a lot of these kids were not getting access to the right resources. In fact, I went to one of the schools in San Francisco, and it was in a poor neighborhood, and the kids there had word gap, because they're not getting access to the best resources as well. And this is one of the most developed countries in the world. So it's not just a problem when it comes to developing countries or, underdeveloped countries. It is a problem everywhere. And we realized we had to start them young so that we start them on a stronger foundation. Also, I think there's another piece of it that we, when I say we, it's my husband and me. We both have started this company. That's why I keep saying we. So we actually read this science fiction book called The Diamond Age by Neil Stephenson. And basically the book is about how this young girl, it's set in the future in 2015, how this young girl gets hold of a magic device that teaches her everything around her, the surroundings. And at the end, she ends up being a leader of her tribe. And it's a magical story of this girl who's born in the slums and disconnected and doesn't have access, but she starts as young as when she is 4 years old and ends up becoming a leader when she grows up. So our vision with DaVinci Club is to give the access of future of work to these kids. That is very important. And I think the future of work is technology. It is not going to be, Any kid right now, Dean, you and I, we're talking across borders. You're in Canada, I'm in United States, and we are able to connect and talk, and we are working on the same mission of, hey, let's give education to kids. If technology wasn't there, we all would have been able to just work, yes, but only in our silos. We wouldn't have been able to connect and create this impact. If you look at it, our research happens in Finland, and I'm again in San Francisco. Our kids are around the world, 40,000 kids across 13 countries. If technology wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't be able to reach there. So the aim of our company is to be a billion kids company or a billion people company. And I
Cool.
think technology is a big, big aspect in this process.
Awesome. I like you're preaching to the choir on that too. Everything you're saying, I'm just nodding my head over here. A lot of things. There are a lot of people though that would challenge that. That say, that maybe they're too young and they need to go and play, and a kid shouldn't have access to something till they're older. What if they jump on social media and it affects their childhood? There's a lot of people that see pitfalls and that, but what answer would you give to those guys?
Yeah, I think it is good that we have those people. There should be always people who are constantly questioning you and being that devil's advocate, especially because we're dealing with kids in education. We need to be careful about how the technology is affecting. And to be honest, while I was an educator in the classroom and I would see kids on technology, it used to break my heart because they would become passive and they would just keep looking at the screen. And that's why if you look at DaVinci Club, we've gone through to it through a mindset of a teacher, where we have put in features like the kid has to actively move to learn more. The child cannot be, even the augmented reality feature, the child cannot be bending their head down and looking at the screen. The screen has to be straight and their necks have to be straight. So ergonomically, it needs to be a healthier experience.
Cool.
And this is what I want to tell all the people who are concerned, that keep sharing these concerns, because technology is just a tool. It can be good or bad, but it is the way we use it. Every time a teacher or parent asked me, how are you going to manage this challenge? It gave me an opportunity. Yes, I think I can create even a better version of it and make a healthier experience.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's that's perfect. I agree with that 100%. It's like we were just talking about in my class about banning cell phones. Well, instead of banning cell phones, make a plan. Figure out how to model it and how to use it instead of just putting it away. Because I agree 100% with you. Like I'm getting a little long in the tooth in my age a little bit, but I can't teach people how I was taught, X amount number of years ago. We got to prepare kids for their future. And to deny that, I think is definitely a disservice to students, and to our future for everybody. It's going to make society better if we can bring it forward and show all the positives that are going on rather than just concentrate on the negatives. But you have to be aware the negatives are there and plan around it, right? And keep modeling those things. So I love what you're saying, and I'm going to use a lot of what you just said in my defense of trying to promote technology as well. It's beautiful. Kind of going with that too, and we kind of touched on that a little bit. So, how would you describe Techquity? Like, for technology to be equal for everybody. And I really like your perspective because you have a true global perspective. Where I know sometimes when we talk, we kind of still have our own little, silo, like you mentioned there. But I really like your perspective because you've been there, done that, and you've got the global perspective that I'm really curious about.
Yeah. I don't know if this really answers your question, Dean, but I would say that there was a time 10 years ago, and I've shared this in my TED talk as well. There was a time when mobile phones, people thought it was too far-fetched that everybody would have mobile phones. And today it's just impossible for us to think that a person exists without a mobile phone. So I think technology is something that catches up really fast. Now, instead of being reactive to it and thinking once technology gets there, that's when we should start planning. I think we should already think what's going to happen for the remote kids, the kids where teachers aren't there. But most of the time, this is what I'm debating with most of the educators who tell me that technology isn't healthy for kids. And I ask them, what about the kid in the remotest area of the world? they don't have access to teachers, they don't have access to schools, they don't have access to books. So if my platform reaches this kid and this kid learns about things around them and is able to become self-sufficient, why wouldn't I do it? It is, again, for me, I feel technology is going to catch up, but as educators, it is our ability to prepare already what is going to be that scenario once technology catches up. And again, I love when people throw these challenges at me that technology is, harming kids and everything, because it is making me careful and it is making me accountable as I do this innovation and creativity. So I think they're doing a great job playing their part. And I would love to keep doing it. I have another example of a kid in India. We tested out our platform with 2,000 children in India, and the teachers loved our platform, the parents loved our platform. And this is back when we were in the first phase of School of Games. It wasn't even DaVinci Club. The kid came to us, yeah, this is nice, but can you make something fun? And we had not even thought of that. Like most of us educators and parents, we are thinking about school administrators should say yes and teachers should say yes, and we forgot about the beneficiary, the kid.
Right.
The engagement for the kid good enough? Is the kid ready to come back to this voluntarily? Yeah. Instead of saying this is an assignment and you have to do it. So these are the things. Every time we faced a challenge, I think it was an opportunity, and technology is going to get there. There's like when we went to Tanzania, it was the remotest area, no technology. These kids had never seen a tablet, and we reached there with the help of UNESCO and Google. I think the big corporates have enough power and money to reach there. It's our job as educators and creators and innovators to be ready the moment these tech solutions are there.
That's awesome. And that's why I like using Minecraft too, because it's fun and then to see kids jump in there and be creative, because every kid likes to play in a sandbox with Lego, and that's kind of the electronic version of what Minecraft is, for sure. And I like what you really said. I guess to use a saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Even though we have the metric system up here in Canada, but
yeah,
yeah, no, sorry?
I like that one better.
But I really like what you're saying. So you had mentioned earlier that your research comes from Finland. What have you learned from from Finland and the way they approach education that has infiltrated the DaVinci Club?
Yeah. And in 2018, Dean, we went to Finland. We were part of their education accelerator. I mean, there was no two thoughts about it. The moment we learned there was an education accelerator in Finland, we just signed up for it and we went there. And it was, I had been reading about Finland's education standards and how in the last decade, they have made a 180 turn of their education system and how kids are more empowered. They rank the highest in their SATs, even though they don't have any standardized testing in their schools. They've eliminated the concept of subjects. So it was, as an educator, it was fascinating for me to understand how are they able to do this? And for me to reach into that Finnish classrooms and talk to Finnish teachers was aspirational. So when we got this opportunity, we jumped on it and we went to Finland and we started talking to educators there, teachers out there. And then we realized that the teachers are, first of all, very, very heavily respected. That is something very different from what I saw in the United States. Being a teacher is very difficult. Like becoming a teacher, you have to go through many certifications and degrees. It's not just anybody can choose to be a teacher. Whereas in India, it is so easy to become a teacher. You just pass an undergrad degree and you can sign up to be a teacher. It's very weird. And that's one of the things that I realized, that becoming a teacher is respected because it's difficult to be a teacher. It's like a doctor. You respect a doctor because you know the amount of effort and hard work they've put. Secondly, the trust in an educator that the Finnish education system has is phenomenal. The teacher of the class has the ultimate say whether or not the child needs to graduate to the next level or no at the end of the year. And it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to do any standardized testing. She has to see a perpetual growth throughout the academic year, which was fascinating for me, because when I went into the classroom and I spoke to one of the teachers and I asked her, okay, what are the kids studying? She said, every kid is studying something different. They choose what they study. Now, do you imagine there are like 25, 30 kids in this classroom and their teacher to student ratio isn't low. So they debunk the theory that, hey, developing world isn't great because they have 40 students, because in Finnish classrooms, there are 30 students in a class. And so and every child is on a different level. Every child is studying a different topic, a different subject, whatever they feel like. At the end of the year, they are making projects to showcase their learning. Even in the freezing cold, they don't have a winter vacation. Like, kids need to go out, they need to become resilient, they need to learn how to be independent. And I think it's those Finnish values that they've put into their education system that really fascinated me. They are preparing kids on a different, I would say, testing. Their tests are around, are we preparing kids for future of work? Are we preparing kids to be entrepreneurs? Like, these are the things that they ranked us on. How good is that? Are we preparing kids to be having more social skills? I have not seen an education system in the world that emphasizes on social skills this much as the Finnish education system. And that's when we decided we need to be doing our research in Finnish classrooms, because our mission is not to become the next school, but it is to redefine education and prepare kids for the future, whatever that would be.
Exactly.
And they can be resilient in that. And that's when we started doing our research there. We got a 91% in the pedagogy, and they ranked us on various skills, and it was fascinating. And every year we go back to them and make sure that we are getting tested again and again. The research happens by the teachers in the classroom, where they are doing studies of how kids are reacting to it and what they're learning out of this platform.
That's amazing. I'm super jealous. That's on my bucket list. I always wanted to go to Finland, and you're making me even more jealous after hearing that. Because yeah, I've heard those things too. They get paid like doctors and that too. So I know that doesn't always happen in Canada and the States, where teachers are sometimes working a second job on the side to make ends meet. So yeah, it's definitely a model to look at, and it's really cool that you've integrated into your company into helping out students, and that's I think that's solid research and a solid way to do a company for sure, that trying to reach out to every kid. And that's just the openness and the sharing that is just promoted in that. And I think, teachers need to go from being from the stage on the stage now to being the guide on the side. But I'd also argue, just by what you're telling me there too, is that a teacher is more of a compass, right? Just kind of helping guide the students along. You don't need to be on the same path, but you're guiding them a little bit, and the teacher is still the expert for the learning and the content, but the teacher is a lead learner along with the other students, and trying to give them positive feedback, and the assessment loop is continuous rather than just, here, you got to meet this, memorize these facts, put them back on the test, and that means you're smart. That's just rote memory. That might have worked back in the Industrial Revolution, but I really like what you're saying. That just seems so forward, and that's how I think we could take our whole society to another level with those kind of ideas. Because now, with your phone, you have access to more information than ever before in human history. So why wouldn't we take something to a next level like we're capable of doing? So I really love what you're saying. Do you have anything else to add before we end our great conversation?
No, I want to echo everything that you said about how the
It's 12 o'clock.
Oops, sorry. That was my laptop. Well, I just want to echo everything that you said, Dean, especially the fact that a teacher can be a lead learner in the group, rather than, somebody who's just giving facts, which can just be taken from a book at any time. You have Google for that. Why do we as humans need to learn anything? We can ask Alexas and Google Homes, things like that. And kids are growing up with this. Like, there are times when I ask them, do you know about this? And a kid in DaVinci Club would say, let me find it out. Hey, Alexa, can you tell me what is it? I wouldn't have thought that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
For me, the only way to find out information was whether or not I've learned it.
Right.
These kids don't have to do that. So I love how you said that the teacher needs to be a lead learner. I like that name. I like that job, being a lead learner. That means you're a learner for life, and you're not learning the content. You are the master of the content, but you're learning how kids need to keep learning as the world is evolving. So that is
Exactly.
really special. And
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dean, for having me and having this chat with me. This was really interesting. Again, I'm always going to go back to the way we connected on Twitter. I'm not like, that is an amazing way.
Yeah.
And you would, once you meet our other educators on DaVinci Club, each one of us have a story like that. Like our education expert, she is an American, but she lives in Guatemala. And I read her blog, and it was so amazing the way she was homeschooling her kids and writing about it, that I asked her to be a content writer at DaVinci Club.
Cool.
Like this is literally how we are connecting the world. Our other education teacher is in Philippines, and our training development team is in Mexico, Vietnam, and India. So it's all around the world.
Wow.
and it's just because of technology that we've got together.
No, thank you. You're inspiring me. I really appreciate that, and I really love you spending some time to share what you've been doing. And this is such an amazing club, and I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to share our story. And I know that a lot of students that are in my master's class will get a lot out of this too, because it touches on so many things we're talking about. Because that's the whole point of everything, right? Is to get better and making connections. So I'm really glad that you reached out. I'm glad for our time we spent here, and I'm looking forward to working with you for sure and learning more. And everybody, thanks for listening. This has been Conversations with Bendy 55, and until next time, take care out there.